Well, good day to you. It is November the 16th, and I hope wherever you are, you're having a great day. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs, and as I always like to do, just kind of point out to those people who are new, who are hearing this information for their first time, that if you want to know more, want to see if there's any truth to this information, the best thing to do is to do your own research. Now, you can do it however you want to do it, but I always recommend checking out the Share International site. Link is at the very top. Because that website has the best background information in one spot. The other websites talk about this information or the priorities of Maitreya in some way, and that's why I kind of put them in there for maybe some extra research if you wanted to do that. But if you also don't want to do a lot of reading and you just want to sit and listen to another video, there's a link to another YouTube channel right below that Share International link. That link or that video is about an hour long. And it's Benjamin Creme talking about Maitreya in only the way that Benjamin Creme can. And you can really get a sense of who and what Maitreya is better from Benjamin Creme than you can from anyone else. So that's why I included it in there. You want to come back and join the discussion? Let me know what you think. Post a comment. You can also ask a question by posting your question in the comment section. Or you can email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. So let's start off with Metatron. You always have something cool to talk about. You said a true master would never look to be someone else's master. One can only truly master oneself. Another man being a master of another man sounds like slavery to me. Who wants to be called a master? Not I. And that is so true, Metatron. Now, the thing of it is, for those who are hearing this information for the first time, and I'm talking about masters and this kind of thing, they are not masters over someone else. They're only masters over their own nature. They're really masters over what it means to be a soul in incarnation. And what does that mean? Well, when we see these masters, we'll know exactly what it means because they are examples of what it means to be perfect. And they don't go around thinking they're perfect all the time, but they are perfect because they don't exhibit the flaws that we all suffer from. Bigotry, hatred, misunderstanding, lack of compassion. You can just list all the qualities of humanity that are undesirable, right? They have none of those. They know nothing but joy, nothing but creativity, nothing but love, unconditional love, without exception. And they all are here to help us and only to help us. They're not here for any other reason than that. So when we see them, we'll see members of what we would consider to be humanity, because they look like us, but without fault, who have no prejudice, who have no ulterior motive, no greed, no fear. They have no desire to look up to somebody or look down to anybody. They know the truth that we are all really sharing the same divinity. And there is no difference between them and us. That same divinity that they have is within us too. That's why they don't look down on us in any way. But they would never consider themselves to be masters over us. They're just masters over their own self. Now, they also are masters over the laws and life of the cosmos. So they don't violate any of those laws ever, like the law of cause and effect, the law of free will and those kind of things. So they don't violate any of those laws. So they don't create karma for themselves the way that we create karma all the time for ourselves. But they also are masters over really what it means to be living in a physical universe. So they can think themselves anywhere with ease. They have all the knowledge of the ages at their fingertips that they can recite in a way and break it down in a way that only someone who's truly mastered the information can. So we could ask them all sorts of questions about life, about reincarnation, about the Bible, and they will recite their answer will probably astound most biblical scholars because they will have such a simple view on things, but yet there's no way to work around it. You know what I mean? So when they would be asked a question about a biblical verse, for instance, they would know the truth of that biblical verse, and then when they say it, it would be so simple and so in a way, and they would express it in a way that really you couldn't argue with them. Now, I'm sure people will try, but you know what I'm saying. But it, really, the truth is the truth is there in the Bible. It's just they would know what to say and how to say it in a simple way that we would all understand it. Maitreya, when he speaks to humanity, he was speaking about the truths of life, the laws of life, but yet speaking very simple and in such a way that everyone can understand him. He won't be talking over people's heads. So that's the nature of these masters, and really. I don't even know exactly what it's like to be in the presence of a master in that way, knowing that they're a master as they are as a master, because they haven't come out in that way yet, except for Maitreya. He's the only one that's done it. And he's able to hide himself in plain sight by the way he is, but he is still impacting people in a positive way. But his main function now, and the reason why most people don't know who he is he's trying to change the public opinion and reinforce the idea in the public that justice matters, that we have to have justice in this world in order to have peace, and how important that is. That's what he's doing now. But he's speaking in a way that we don't look to him as anything other than just an ordinary man. But these masters can speak things and truths very simply, and sometimes so simply that we don't even know that they're speaking truths to us in that way. So anyway, hopefully that helps. But they will never consider themselves to be, like I said, they will never consider themselves to be masters. In fact, every one of these masters, without exception, and Maitreya's included in this, don't desire devotees. You would think that they would be desiring devotion, but they don't. And one of the most humorous examples of this coming from one of these masters was Sai Baba. If you're familiar with him, you can actually go online and research Sai Baba. You can see videos on YouTube of Sai Baba talking in front of hundreds of thousands of people, literally hundreds of thousands of people. Those crowds would put Donald Trump's crowds to shame, in terms of the size of the crowds. And I know Donald Trump likes to talk about the crowd size. Sai Baba's actually got him beat. But anyway, where somebody like Donald Trump desires devotion to the extreme, Sai Baba doesn't. And so the story goes that's so funny, but it has so much truth to it. Is there? I think it was if I'm not mistaken, it was a reporter that was just happened to be there covering this event when he was speaking in front of hundreds of thousands of people in his ashram. And this person looked to him and said, "It must be incredible to see all these devotees, looking up to you and all that kind of thing." And rather than him saying, "Oh, yes, it is, it's wonderful," or whatever, he goes, "There's no devotees here. I don't have any devotees here. I only have one true devotee out of all these crowds of, all the multitudes of people that are," and you're like, who is it? And he turns to his dog and he goes, "It's my dog." And if you own a dog, if you have a dog, you would know the truth of that statement, that they are really devoted to their owners if there's that bond, you know what I mean? But yeah, he didn't desire devotees either, even though people were devoted to him. He didn't desire any kind of devotion in that way. All right, let's see. Where in the Bible does it mention the masters? The only one that I know of is Hebrews 12:23, and I don't know the full verse, but at the very end it says, "Just men made perfect." All right, hopefully that helps. You mentioned initiation. What did you mean by initiation? And in the last video, somebody asked a question about Hitler being a second-degree initiate. And I don't know if this person was thinking that Donald Trump was a second-degree initiate, but if you study the initiates, and in Ben's book, at the back of his books, the Maitreya's Mission books, he has a list of historical figures and their point in evolutions that his master gave to him, and he wrote them out. You can kind of get an idea that really Donald Trump isn't a second-degree initiate. So I would be shocked if he was, but no. But according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, the initiations are nothing more than great expansions of consciousness. Now, we hear about initiations, we think about fraternities, we think about secret societies and those kind of things, but that's not what's going on in this. This is a natural thing that happens toward the tail end of the lifetimes of a person on this planet before they become a master. Now, in the Bible, so seeing that we're talking about the Bible, there's 5 things written in such a way to symbolize these 5 great expansions of consciousness, and they were all within the life of Jesus. The first is the birth. The second was the baptism. The third was the transfiguration, and then the crucifixion, and then, of course, the resurrection. Those 5 events in Jesus' life were written in such a way to symbolize those 5 great expansions of consciousness that Maitreya and some of these masters will be teaching humanity. And right now on this planet, according to Benjamin Creme's master, there's really just a little over 1 million people who have taken at least one initiation. So I think it said it's 840,000 people are first-degree initiates, and there's 240,000 or 250,000 second-degree initiates, and then 2,000 to 3,000 people who have taken the third initiation, and then about 400 to 500 people who have taken the fourth, and then there's only just a handful of masters. So, but in the coming time, those numbers will increase dramatically, every single one of those. So eventually there'll be more masters than just the ones that we have coming out in our lifetime. There'll be many, 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 many more. And it's been said that most people, I don't know, maybe everybody, but most people will have taken at least the first initiation over the coming 2,000 years or so. So it's a tremendous expansion of consciousness of humanity just to get to that point. But it's going to take the masters teaching humanity the steps to become a master. It'll be taking the master. It will take the masters being examples for all of humanity to see what it's like to be a master. Most people don't even know that the masters exist, that the destiny of their lives is to become a master. Most people don't even know that they have multiple lives. They just think they have one life because that's all they've been told since they were a child, is this is it, right? And then after that, there's nothing. Well, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, there's no truth to that. We go on after we die, and then we come back, and then we have to live out that life, and then we come back again, and then we have to come back again. And from what I've heard, it takes hundreds of thousands of lifetimes to become a master. But the tail end, which is usually anywhere from, 5 to 10, maybe 20 lifetimes, I guess, of a person before they become a master, are marked by those 5 great expansions of consciousness, which, of course, the masters have all taken themselves. Very few of us have taken any of them, with the exception of multiple ones, right? But to look to Ben's books, he talks about certain historical figures. So a first-degree initiate today, somewhere between the first and the second, would be somebody who has, on the low end, would have a tremendous desire to serve, but perhaps isn't serving that much out in the world, but yet is thinking about it. As they start to move toward the second initiation, maybe even closer to becoming a second-degree initiate, but not there yet, they're quite influential in the world, perhaps marked our world leaders. I think that he said the average world leader is somewhere between the first and the second, kind of in the middle-ish kind of area. So, influential in their own way, but yet got a lot of faults. But they might not know anything about initiation. They have no desire to know anything about initiation, but yet are somewhere between the first and the second. And then the second-degree initiates would be people like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, JFK, I guess FDR was, Franklin Roosevelt was one, but he was very, 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 very close to being a third-degree initiate. And then the third-degree initiates would be marked by somebody like Abraham Lincoln in the political arena, Winston Churchill, Mao Zedong even was a third-degree initiate, and then a lot of the senior disciples like Peter, Paul, John were all third-degree initiates. Very, very advanced. And then if you look in the arts world, not all, but most of the Renaissance painters, the Renaissance musicians like Beethoven and Bach, Mozart, were all third-degree initiates. Very, very advanced for their time in their whatever field they're in. And then very few people are known who have taken the fourth initiation, but Jesus took the fourth initiation in his life. Leonardo da Vinci was a fourth-degree initiate. Krishnamurti was a fourth-degree initiate. Not very many. Helena Blavatsky was another one. And then they become a master, not long after that. But it's all marked within the framework of the Bible. Most Christians would totally disagree with that, but it's right in there, hidden in plain sight, as they say. And I'm sorry, I kind of, I had to kind of try to answer his question without giving a little bit of background about initiation, but I don't know much about it either. So it'd be better to hear about it from somebody like Ben who could really, really explain it. But I tried my best. Hopefully that helped. But anyway, Let's see if there's any other questions or comments that we want to talk about. And that, I guess that's kind of goes along the lines of what Bernard Powell 7255 was talking about. He said, Jesus Christ is Lord. No one can get to the Father except through him. And when it was said in the Bible, when Jesus said that in the Bible, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, that had nothing to do with having to believe in Jesus, or believe what the churches think Jesus to be. Really, belief doesn't really get you very far in life, to be honest. And it seems like more and more people are starting to become awakened to the fact that really belief is just belief. It's not as real as we make it out to be. Now, they're starting to see it in religious terms, but when it comes to other things like national pride and what we identify with and those kind of things, perhaps we're still blind in that way. But we're waking up to the truth that belief is just belief. And as the Buddha says, there's no religion higher than truth. There's no belief higher than truth is another way of talking about it. But in the Bible, when Jesus said that, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, it had to do with the function of the Christ at the first two initiations, because the Christ really conducts the ceremony of the first two initiations that of a disciple, taking the first and then taking the second. And after that, there's another being that takes over, a higher being even than Maitreya. But so really, you can't get to the Father unless you're initiated by the Christ, really is what it amounts to. And in the future, Maitreya will talk more and more about initiation. I'm sure not right away, because it wouldn't make much sense, and there's no reason for him to talk about it. We need to save our planet first. But eventually, he and some of these masters, not all of them, but some of these masters will talk about it. But the great thing about seeing these masters in our own life, we'll be able to see what it truly means to be divine in its perfection, 100% of the time. Someone without fault. We'll be able to see it. We'll be able to emulate it. We'll be able to aspire to it much better. And when we have examples in our life of what we're aspiring to, it makes it so much easier for us to get there. Where when we don't have it, or if we're just reading it or reading bits and pieces of it in the Bible and so forth, and trying to pick up on who and what Jesus was, in the life of Jesus, yeah, you can. But when you see Jesus as the Master Jesus out in public, you'll have a much deeper sense of what it means to be Jesus, or a person like Jesus. And so many people want to live a life like Jesus. They want to love like Jesus loved. They want to be able to, have that kind of impact on people's lives and serve in that way. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And to be able to see the Master Jesus in that way, I'm sure will have a tremendous impact on millions upon millions of people's lives. To be able to see the Master who was John, the Master who was Paul, for them to talk about their faults and how they had to stumble through the same things that we're stumbling through today, and then to see how they are now, it will make it so much clearer for everybody. You won't need to necessarily read Alice Bailey. You can just go listen to them, you know what I'm saying? And then try to apply it in your life and those kind of things. But it will make things a lot easier, I think. But anyway, thank you very much, guys. I love you guys. Thanks for the comments and the questions. I look forward to putting up videos in the very near future. And you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.